I don't know what to tell you. It's just, I mean, I agree with him. It's not who we are. It's hard to tell you right now, what it was. If it was, one thing in particular, but it just wasn't us.
I'm going to say it again and again and again. Kevin Stefanski did not want Shedeur Sanders, didn't even want him in the 5th round. Kevin Stefanski has done everything in his power to keep Shedeur Sanders from succeeding in Cleveland as a 5th round pick against all odds. Even yanking Shedeur again for the potential tying 2-point conversion, going with the Wildcat. It was a disaster after Shedeur had shown again and again he's the answer in the red zone for the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders just played by far his best game as a pro.
Buckle up, because Cleveland just turned into a full-on storm and the entire football world is watching in shock. Myles Garrett, the Browns franchise icon, the defensive powerhouse who just became the 8th player in league history to hit 100 career sacks in only 113 games, stepped up to the mic and dropped something massive that has the whole organization sweating. When a superstar like Myles speaks out, when a leader with his pull goes against the usual player and coach together attitude, that means something serious is cooking behind closed doors in Cleveland, and trust me, this one is messy. The Browns somehow took an L to the 1-11 Tennessee Titans, losing 31-29 in a game they had no business dropping. They were 4.5-point favorites at home. Everything was lined up for a clean win, and still things went sideways fast. And here's the wild part. Their rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, played like he belonged in a highlight reel. He threw for 364 yards and 3 touchdowns, looked calm, sharp, and every bit the franchise QB Cleveland has been trying to find for years. But when the game reached its breaking point, when Shedeur marched the offense down the field for an 80-yard touchdown drive to put them right back in it, Kevin Stefanski made a choice that left everyone stunned. He pulled Shedeur off the field for both 2-point conversion attempts, not once but twice, and both of those plays failed.
For the tie, no Shedeur. It's Judkins on the direct snap. He was supposed to pitch it, but didn't and couldn't. And now he's going to have to throw it, and he does. And it's incomplete. And the Titans hold him off. It was a gadget play, creative play last week when they tried the direct snap.
I want to know what's going on with Kevin Stefanski. Why do you take Shedeur Sanders off the field for that 2-point conversion? That was the most humiliating game I have ever watched as a Browns fan. Kevin Stefanski needs to be fired tomorrow. Shedeur Sanders, in his 3rd ever start as a rookie, first of all, had a phenomenal game. Damn near 400 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns, played great, played to win. And you know what? He was the only one. With 4.5 minutes left, Shedeur Sanders took this team down the field, punched in a scramble touchdown on the ground to make this 31-23. Kick the extra point, Kevin. We still don't know why you decided to go for 2 there, but you didn't get it. So now it's an 8-point game instead of 7. And what does Shedeur Sanders do? The next time he gets the ball right back down the field, scores a touchdown. You are 1 2-point conversion away now from tying this game up and going to overtime. And I want to know what's going on with Kevin Stefanski. Why do you take Shedeur Sanders off the field for that 2-point conversion? He is playing out of his mind for the last 4.5 minutes, scored 2 touchdowns, brought you back into a chance to tie this game up, a game that you have blown from the beginning. And you take him off the field, and not only do you take him off the field for that 2-point conversion play, but the play you called instead was one of the worst plays I have ever watched in a professional sporting event in my life. This team is a joke. It is a clown show. Kevin Stefanski, Jim Schwartz, Tommy Rees, Bubba Ventrone, everybody has got to go. Get out of here. Get away from Cleveland. We don't want you. I don't fault anybody for questioning whether or not this coaching staff actually wants Shedeur Sanders to win games, because damn it, he won that game, or at least put you in position to tie it up. He came back with everything you want to see from a quarterback, especially here in Cleveland, with the grit and the toughness and the determination that he is not going to lose this ball game. And you know what? You, Kevin Stefanski, decided that you were going to lose this ball game. And you know what? You did. Not just to anybody, but to a one-win football team. Everything about this is sketchy. I don't care what anybody says. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical, and I don't blame anybody for thinking that way.
That decision slammed the door shut on their comeback and handed them a brutal loss. Then came the moment that lit everything up. Myles Garrett stepped to the podium and basically called out his head coach without even raising his voice. This wasn't loud anger. This was precision. When asked if Shedeur could have led them the rest of the way, if getting just one of those 2-point conversions could have pushed the game to overtime, Garrett didn't dodge it. His answer was cool, pointed, and impossible to ignore. He said, I think he did well. I think he looked good. He came up big when we needed him to. You can practically hear the message underneath.
What did you think of Shedeur being able to lead you guys back, where if you get one of those 2-point conversions, who knows, we could be looking at overtime?
I mean, I think he did well. I think he looked good. He came up big when we needed him to. And, there's going to be some ups and downs for anyone, especially a rookie. But, he went in there and, he looked composed. He escaped out of some sacks, broke the pocket, made some big time plays, and just looking for him to continue to grow. Looking for that clock to speed up a little bit, but he looks more and more at ease each week.
Garrett is letting everybody know Shedeur delivered when it mattered, and that makes Stefanski's decision to bench him in crunch time look even more confusing. Then Garrett kept going, doubling down without saying anything reckless. He added, "There's going to be some ups and downs for anyone, especially a rookie." But he went in there and he looked composed. He escaped out of some sacks, broke the pocket, made some big-time plays, and just looking for him to continue to grow. Looking for that clock to speed up a little bit, but it looks more and more at ease each week. That right there is a veteran talking like a leader who sees exactly what this young quarterback brings to the table. He knows Shedeur has the tools to win, and he's basically telling the world the kid earned the right to stay on the field during those game-deciding moments. And the message couldn't be clearer. Myles Garrett believes Shedeur should have been out there for those 2-point tries. He's not dragging his coach directly, he's too professional for that. But the meaning is loud without him ever saying it outright. This wasn't just a comment, it was a warning shot from inside the locker room. When a defensive superstar goes out of his way to hype up his quarterback's poise and clutch playmaking, especially in a game where that same quarterback was mysteriously yanked during the biggest moments, that's not random at all. That's a message, loud and sharp, aimed straight at the coaching staff. Meanwhile, Kevin Stefanski met the media looking like someone who'd just been dragged into a dentist's office for a root canal he didn't schedule. His entire press conference felt like a clinic in dodging, circling, and talking without actually saying anything useful. When reporters asked him point blank why Shedeur wasn't on the field for those 2-point attempts, Stefanski delivered a reply that left fans shaking their heads. He said, "It is a 2-point play. Didn't come through on our first 2-point play. Got to the second 2-point play. We didn't come through, but it's on me." As if that somehow explains choosing the Wildcat over your quarterback who was shredding the defense all game. Then when someone pressed him on whether the play call came from him or offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, Stefanski snapped into full defensive mode. He repeated, "I make every call. I'm responsible for all of it." Almost like saying it louder was supposed to make people stop questioning him. But here's the truth. Taking the blame without offering a real explanation isn't accountability. That's just polished coach language meant to shut the conversation down before anyone digs too deep. And the media in that room wasn't buying it for 1 second. They kept pushing, asking the same questions fans across Cleveland were yelling at their screens. When someone asked if Shedeur was benched because he fumbled the first snap, Stefanski shot back with a quick no. But then came the part that really exposed everything. When asked when he made the decision to run the Wildcat, Stefanski said it was decided during the week. Hold on, so Stefanski had already made up his mind before the game even started that if they needed a 2-point try, he would go Wildcat? No matter how his quarterback played, no matter what the momentum looked like? That's not strategy, that's stubborn planning on autopilot. Shaking things up is part of coaching, but refusing to adjust even when your rookie QB is roasting defenders and looking sharper every drive. That's the kind of rigid thinking that loses games in the worst way. Shedeur had just led an electric 80-yard touchdown drive in 7 plays. He was locked in, the rhythm was there, the confidence was building, and the entire sideline could feel the shift. Momentum had swung completely toward Cleveland, and instead of riding the hot hand, Stefanski stuck with a play he wrote down days earlier. That's not creativity, that's not leadership, that's ego getting in the way of common sense. You can bet the frustration in that locker room is real. Myles Garrett even talked about how the run defense fell apart, how the Titans, a team with only 1 win, gashed them for 184 rushing yards. A performance like that, combined with a coaching decision that made no sense, is enough to make any player speak up. Garrett didn't sugarcoat a thing when talking about the team's mindset, saying the expectation is always to win. You prepare, you practice hard, you stack all that work, and you expect it to show up on game day. But when he was asked what went wrong with the run defense, he kept it real and admitted the group didn't look like themselves. He said, "I agree with him. It's not who we are. It's hard to tell you right now what it was, if it was one thing in particular, but it just wasn't us." That's a defensive captain stepping up, taking responsibility, but also showing the frustration that hits when a run-stopping unit suddenly gets hit for almost 200 yards on the ground. Tennessee didn't come in with anything fancy. Their game plan was straight up simple: run the ball, keep it away from Myles Garrett, and try to stop Shedeur Sanders from getting hot. They pulled off the first 2, but they absolutely failed to slow Shedeur down. The rookie still lit them up, even with the Titans trying everything they could to throw him off. Garrett even explained how the Titans approached him, saying, "I was running the ball, can't get a sack on a run play." Other than that, they chipped, rolled the pocket, the usual stuff. He was getting it out. 1 read, putting it in the air. If they couldn't get it in 1 read, they'd come back the next drive and continue running the ball. They just kept their heads down and kept grinding away. That's a veteran defender breaking down the game like someone who understands every angle. He's giving credit where it's due, acknowledging Tennessee executed their plan and stayed patient the whole afternoon. But even while he's analyzing the Titans' approach, Garrett keeps circling back to the same theme: execution, consistency, sticking with what works. That subtle point hits hard, because if the opposing team can stick to their strengths and trust their system, why couldn't Cleveland do the same with their offense when Shedeur was slicing up the field? Then there were the special teams mistakes, which just made everything uglier. A blocked punt that handed Tennessee prime field position, kickoff coverage that opened the game by allowing a return to the 15-yard line. These are basic breakdowns you cannot afford against a 1-win team, especially when you're favored at home. When Stefanski was asked about special teams coordinator Bubba Ventrone, he dodged the question and went back to the same generic line: "We have to play better. We have to coach better." Sure, that sounds professional, but how long can a team hide behind that phrase before it becomes empty? At some point, "we have to play better" has to turn into actual changes, actual accountability, something beyond a press conference script. Fans hear those words every week, but accountability means action, not just repeating the same quote over and over. And to top it off, the injury news hit even harder. Starting center Ethan Pocic likely suffered an Achilles injury, and early signs didn't look promising at all. Losing a core piece of the offensive line in a game already filled with chaos just made the situation even more painful for Cleveland. According to Stefanski, several players are now dealing with concussions, and the injury list just keeps getting longer. That makes it even more crucial for the coaching staff to get every ounce of production out of the healthy players they do have. And the most electric, game-changing weapon Cleveland had on the field Sunday was Shedeur Sanders. So let's break down exactly what Shedeur did out there, because his performance deserves spotlight-level respect. He threw for 364 yards, launched 3 touchdown passes, and delivered a gorgeous fade to Font that had perfect touch, timing, and accuracy you rarely see from rookies. He even punched in a rushing touchdown, showing off that sneaky mobility and his toughness finishing plays. And on top of the stats, his leadership was huge. He brought the team back from a 14-point hole against an opponent controlling the clock and dictating the tempo. Yes, he threw an interception. a everybody calm down moment, where he tried to do too much by holding the ball and forcing a play that wasn't there. But young quarterbacks make mistakes, that's part of the journey. What separates the good ones from the great ones is how they bounce back after those mistakes. And Shedeur responded by leading 2 fourth-quarter touchdown drives, including that 80-yard masterpiece that made every fan in the stadium believe the Browns were about to pull off the comeback of the week. Stefanski did at least give Shedeur some credit after the game, saying, obviously with any young player, there's going to be ups and downs, and I thought there were some really good moments, some really good throws, especially late in the drive. I thought he was really good there. Some of his pocket movement was outstanding. And yes, Kevin, we all saw that. But here's the problem. If his pocket movement was outstanding, if he was making big-time throws late in drives, if he was locked in and showing the kind of poise coaches dream about, then why wasn't he on the field for the 2-point conversions? That's the question everyone keeps asking. It's the question Myles Garrett is quietly pointing toward with his praise of Shedeur. It's the question Browns fans have been yelling since the final whistle. And it's the question Stefanski keeps dodging like he's avoiding contact at all costs, giving answers with zero honesty, zero depth, and zero real explanation. Now, to be fair, going for 2 after the first touchdown to make it 31-23 isn't a crazy strategy. Stefanski explained that it's something the team has talked about for a while, that if you're down 14, you like that decision. The math checks out. If you convert, you're only down 6 and can tie the game with another touchdown and an extra point. If you miss, you're still down 8 and will need a touchdown and a 2-pointer anyway. But the execution is where everything collapsed. Shedeur fumbled the snap on that first attempt. Not ideal, but mistakes like that happen. What matters is whether you trust your quarterback to shake it off and go win the next play. And that trust never showed up when it counted most. Snaps get fumbled. It happens in football, especially when your starting center just went down and the backup is trying to hold it together in a loud, high-pressure stadium. You reset, shake it off, and move to the next play. But on the second touchdown, when the score hit 31-29 and Cleveland needed that 2-point conversion to tie it up, Stefanski's decision went from questionable to flat-out impossible to defend. Instead of trusting the quarterback who just marched the team 80 yards down the field, instead of leaning on the guy who made clutch throws all game and showed nothing but poise under pressure, Stefanski dialed up the Wildcat. Austin Judkins took the snap, looked like he forgot his pitch, or the play just fell apart instantly, and he got swallowed up with nowhere to go. The conversion failed, the comeback died, and Shedeur Sanders had to watch the whole thing from the sideline like he wasn't the one keeping the team alive all afternoon. Reporters didn't let Stefanski slide on this one. They asked, the reason you didn't use Shadow on the 2-point play, was it because he fumbled the first? Stefanski said no. Then they asked, as the drive was going down, did you already have in your mind that you were going to that specific play? And Stefanski said yes, just like that. That right there was the reveal that stunned everyone. This wasn't about momentum. This wasn't about reacting to how the game was unfolding. This was a decision Stefanski already locked in before the drive even happened. He made up his mind that Shedeur wasn't getting the ball on the conversion no matter how well he played. That's not adjusting to the moment. That's not coaching to win. That's straight up letting your script override reality. When a coach gets so stuck on his own plan that he ignores what his quarterback is doing in real time, it stops being strategy and starts becoming self-sabotage. And now you've got Myles Garrett, the voice of the entire locker room, stepping to the mic and praising Shedeur in a way that absolutely shines a light on the coaching mistake. When asked about Shedeur's ability to lead them back, Garrett didn't offer a generic "he played okay" type of response. He went out of his way to highlight how composed Shedeur looked, how he made big-time plays, and how he's looking more confident every single week. That's not random praise. That's a superstar sending a message from inside the building. Garrett knows exactly how the media works. He knew those quotes would blow up, and the fact that he still chose to speak that way even while staying respectful tells you how frustrated this team really is behind the scenes. The locker room believes in Shedeur Sanders. You can feel it every time they talk about him. The defense, led by its most dominant player, believes in Shedeur Sanders. The offense clearly believes in him too, judging by the chemistry developing between Shedeur and guys like Jerry Jeudy. That trust is real. Right now, the only person in the entire building who doesn't seem fully sold on Shedeur Sanders is the head coach. And when your players, your leaders, and your playmakers all see one thing, but the coach keeps pushing something else, that turns into a massive problem real fast. Garrett's message to the team heading into the final 4 games was simple, real, and powerful. He told his teammates to prepare to win, keep grinding, and stay locked into the same routines that got them this far. He said, prepare to win, prepare work hard. Don't change anything about your focus, your preparation, your routine from the beginning of the year to now. This is setting us up for the rest of the year and next year. How we choose to handle these games is defining of not only our team, but us as men. And that one line, next year, said everything. Cleveland basically knows the playoff door is closing, and these last 4 games are all about growth, identity, and building a foundation for what's coming next. And at the center of that future is Shedeur Sanders, who needs every rep, every tough moment, and every pressure situation to keep developing into the franchise quarterback he's showing he can be. Pulling him during the biggest moments doesn't build that future. It slows it down. It sends the message that even when he's balling out, even when he delivers under pressure, even when he leads the team down the field with confidence, he still might not be trusted. That kind of decision chips away at a young quarterback's confidence, creates hesitation, and plants doubt where none should exist. The difference between Stefanski's press conference and Garrett's couldn't have been more dramatic. Stefanski came across defensive and evasive, throwing out polished coach phrases without giving real answers or recognizing how much his choices impacted the loss. Garrett, on the other hand, was honest, thoughtful, and backed his teammates while still making it clear something wasn't right, all without crossing any line of disrespect. When Garrett was asked what Shedeur's performance means moving forward, he didn't tiptoe around it. He praised everything: Shedeur's pocket movement, the way he escaped pressure, the big-time throws, his composure in tight moments. He chose every word carefully, but each one delivered the same message loud and clear. This kid is special. He's leveling up every week, and he deserves to be trusted in those crucial situations. The Titans didn't win this game because they were the better team. They won because they showed up with a clean game plan and stuck to it. They ran the ball well, kept Garrett neutralized with quick protections, avoided turnovers, and capitalized on key moments. But make no mistake, Cleveland should have taken this game. The Browns had more talent, the better quarterback, and every chance to close it out. But coaching decisions, special teams mistakes, and defensive breakdowns opened the door wide for Tennessee. You can't allow 184 rushing yards, give up a blocked punt, blow kickoff coverage, and then fail on 2 two-point attempts, one of which didn't even feature your hottest offensive player, and expect to come out with a win. These are mistakes that can be cleaned up. They shouldn't be happening to any professional team, especially not at home, and especially not against a one-win opponent fighting just to stay relevant. The reporters in Stefanski's press conference didn't give him a break, not for a second. They kept pressing him about the 2-point calls, about the decision not to kick the extra point after the first touchdown, and about the logic behind forcing back-to-back risky plays when the game was hanging in the balance. Stefanski tried to explain it as something they've done before, something other teams around the league do, the idea being that if you hit the first 2-pointer, you already know your plan for the next one. But that logic only works if you actually have a 2-point play you trust enough to run, and none of Cleveland's attempts look trustworthy at all. When your first try collapses because of a fumbled snap and your second attempt blows up because you ran a wildcat play that never had a chance, the whole strategy crumbles instantly. Suddenly you're asking your team to successfully hit 2 low percentage plays in a row, and when both fail, you're stuck watching the game slip away when you could have kept it alive by simply kicking the extra point and tying things later. The second guessing on this is going to be loud, relentless, and deserved. Stefanski made choices that put his team in a worse position to win, and when those decisions fell apart, he refused to offer any genuine accountability or meaningful explanation. That kind of evasiveness doesn't sit well with fans, players, or anyone who watched the game unfold. Meanwhile, Myles Garrett, fresh off a historic sack milestone, despite the Titans designing their whole game plan to slow him down, still found time in his press conference to praise his rookie quarterback and subtly question why that quarterback wasn't on the field when it mattered most. That tells you everything about his leadership and his priorities. Garrett isn't celebrating personal achievements, even ones that cement him in league history. He's focused on the team, on winning, and on doing whatever it takes to help Cleveland play to its true potential. And he clearly recognizes that Shedeur Sanders gives them the best chance to win right now. The fact that Garrett felt compelled to speak up, even in a careful, professional way, shows you what's bubbling beneath the surface in that locker room. Players talk. They know when decisions make sense and when they don't, and they absolutely know when coaching choices cost them games they should have walked away with. Frustration builds, even when players stay respectful, and Shedeur Sanders, despite everything swirling around him, is reportedly handling it with impressive maturity and grace. He showed that after the game too, talking about faith, forgiveness, and staying locked in on improvement. His character is shining through the chaos, but that doesn't make what's happening to him any less unfair or any less damaging to the franchise's future. Because the truth is simple, the Browns have their franchise quarterback. He's right there, a 5th round steal, playing like he should have been drafted in the 1st round. He's getting sharper every week, earning the respect of every teammate around him, including the most dominant defender on the roster. He shows accuracy, mobility, poise, leadership, toughness, and the ability to bounce back after mistakes. Everything you want in the face of your franchise. And yet the head coach keeps holding him back, pulling him in key moments, making decisions that suggest he doesn't fully believe in the quarterback everyone else already sees as special. It raises a huge question over the whole organization, and not one that can be avoided much longer. How long can this go on? How long before Jimmy Haslam and the Browns front office realize they're being forced into a choice? Will they keep protecting Kevin Stefanski's comfort, or will they fully invest in Shedeur Sanders and give him the opportunity to grow into the superstar he's clearly capable of becoming? If you're rocking with this breakdown and want more deep dives into the biggest story shaking the league, make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more.